Stories are different. They come alive in the telling. Without a human voice to read them aloud, or a pair of wide eyes following them by torchlight underneath a blanket, they have no existence in our world. They are like seeds in the beak of a bird, waiting to fall to earth, or the notes of a song laid out on a sheet, yearning for an instrument to bring their music into being. They lay dormant, waiting for the chance to emerge. But once someone starts reading them, they begin to change. They take root in the imagination and transform the reader. Stories want to be read. They need it. It is the reason they force themselves from their world into ours. They want us to give them life. If you share John Connolly's opinion on the power and beauty of books, then A-level literature is the course for you. If reading is part of your existence, you can pick up a book and emerge hours later because you were lost in the words, transported somewhere else, then you will adore the A-level literature course at Budehaven Community School. Why study A-level literature? Literature is the exploration of the human condition. On the course, we are transported to different historical and contemporary settings and even futuristic environments where the writers, who are novelists, poets and playwrights, explore and examine what it actually is to be a human being. We study how different religious beliefs, political ideologies and societal values and attitudes influence and affect the individual and groups of people who live in these environments. Welcome Year 11, your parents and your carers. My name is Miss Harbert and I am delighted to be telling you about our fantastic course today. So what actually will you be studying over the next 2 years? Let's have a look at the actual components. As you can see, there are 3 components which we study over the 2 years. And as you can see from the text, they range from the 1500s all the way up to this decade. So it really is a wonderful, wide-ranging course. 2 of the components are examination-based. So we prepare you for these exams that are set at the end of year 13. Each exam is 2.5 hours long. Component 3 is called the non-examination assessments, or as I prefer to call it, coursework, because it's a lot easier to say. The first piece of coursework is completed in year 12, and whilst you are planning, and whilst you're doing that, you will start planning and preparing for the comparative coursework at the end of year 12, which will then continue into year 13. But I'll go into the details of the coursework a little bit later on. What I'd like to do now, though, is to give you a little bit more detail about each component. And amazingly, I'm going to start with component 1. Component 1, as you can see, is the Shakespeare and the pre-19th century drama and poetry. The first part is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. And that actual part of the exam is actually split into 2 separate papers. And you'll know from your studying of Macbeth in your GCSEs that you have 2 different parts. And actually, it's the same at A-level as well. Part A is a close analysis of a passage from the play. So that's where you'll be expected to really analyse in depth Shakespeare's beautiful language, the way that he structures his ideas. And so you'll be asked to look at the themes and characters within that particular text. You'll also be asked to look at different interpretations as well. You'll be drawing from your different readings, your different viewings of different productions during the course. The last part of this actual exam in the Shakespeare side is you have to write an essay on the whole text. So that means you need to know the whole play in depth. As part of the same paper, you then have to go on to the second part, which is the 19th century drama and poetry. And you can see from the slide that what you will be asked to do is to compare the poetry of Christine Rossetti with A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Hamlet is Shakespeare's famous revenge tragedy. The setting is Elsinore in the royal court of Denmark. It is a play of betrayal, corruption, love and gender politics. Shakespeare explores the tragic consequences of ambition and greed, and how particular actions and decisions lead to madness and death. As you know from your studying of Macbeth, Shakespeare's plays transcend time. And what you will do is you'll be watching different interpretations of the play, examining that despite being written in the late 1500s, the play continues to be a mirror of our lives, even today, reflecting our own wonderful qualities as human beings, but also exposing our weaknesses and flaws too. The second part of component 1 is a comparative exam. And in this part of the exam, we'll be transported into the 1800s. You'll be required to compare the poetry of Christina Rossetti with The Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, a Norwegian playwright. Christina Rossetti was a Victorian poet writing in the middle of the century. A devout Anglo-Catholic, her religious beliefs often conflicted with her sexual desires and ambitions as a woman. Her poetry is beautifully imaginative. She challenged the traditional poetical forms, and her subject matter is both controversial and very thought-provoking. And this certainly complements the text that we compare her with, A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Often described as the father of naturalism, Ibsen revolutionised the theatre. He forced the audiences of Britain and of Europe to examine their own lives, and he courted much controversy and condemnation due to his willingness to shock his audiences with his subject matter. He liked to expose the seedy side of society that was never talked about. And what he does is he focuses his attention on the middle classes, exposing the suffocating oppression and hypocrisy that hid beneath the veneer of respectability, wealth and position. Now we're going to move on to component 2, which, as I said before, is also an exam. This is called the Comparative and Contextual study. And what we do at Budehaven is to look at the genre of dystopia. As you can see, we've now moved into the more modern texts. And again, like in component 1, there are 2 sections. However, this time, in the other one, there were like 3 different little papers. With this one, you've got just section A and B. And so, okay, now we're going to move on to component 2, which is, as I said before, an exam paper. Component 2 looks at the modern texts, and it is called the Comparative and Contextual study. And as you can see from the slide, what we look at is the genre of dystopia. There are 2 sections to this exam as well. In section A is a close analysis of an unseen passage from a dystopian text. This is different from component 1 because with the Hamlet you will have been able to study all of the text, so you'll be aware of the passage when you get it. But with this one, it will be an unseen, and so you'll have to draw from your knowledge and your wider reading of the dystopian genre. As you can see, section B is another comparison, but this time you'll be comparing 1984 by George Orwell with A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Although set in near futuristic settings, dystopian writers are actually examining and critiquing their own contemporary societies, and both Atwood and Orwell are no exception to this. Dystopian writers are actually political writers, I think. They examine how extremist ideologies and actions create terrifying, tyrannical regimes. What we do in this component is we explore how the protagonists attempt to survive in these societies, which are dangerously oppressive and where governments seek to destroy individuality and so dehumanise its citizens. This genre is a fascinating exploration of power, of the states, but also of the individuals too. Okay, now we're on to component 3, the non-exam assessment coursework. This is where we try to continue to nurture and kind of foster your independence. This is where we want you to take more ownerships of the text, and this then we feel will help you in your next area, in your next journey when you go to university. The first coursework text is chosen by your teacher, and it will be a play, and it has to have been written in the last century. Over the last few years, we have studied A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams, but this is up to your teacher to decide. Once you have read the play in class with your teacher, you will choose your own area of study. This is where you will negotiate the title of your coursework, and it will be up to you to decide on the theme and characters that you want to explore in your coursework. The second piece of coursework expects you to take ownership. You'll be asked to choose a poetry collection written by one poet, and then compare this text with a novel of your choice. The themes have to be... Sorry, I'm going to do that again, Paz. The second piece of coursework expects you to take ownership. You'll be asked to choose a poetry collection of your choice written by one poet, and then compare this text with a novel of your choice. The texts have to be thematically linked, and you can see on the slide different examples of that. Although we encourage independence in this task, as you will read the books independently, you will conduct your own research, and then you will eventually plan and write this essay in your own time. Of course, we will be there to support you. We will provide individual tutorials throughout the whole of this process, and so that we can make sure that you are supported, you feel happy and confident throughout this whole process. I've found that the students really enjoy this piece of this part of the course, because it allows them to really pursue a particular area, a particular genre, and a particular theme that they're really interested in. Budehaven students in the past have produced some fantastic texts, and I'm sure that you'll be of no exception. I'm really looking forward to that part. You can see from the essay titles in front of you, and these are ones that the students, particular students have done in the past. They cover a really wide range of texts. People go into other cultures. They might look at femininity. They might go back into a historical part of our past, slavery, war, oppression, how women are seen in the past, how ethnic minorities have been seen in particular texts. It's an area that really allows you to kind of nurture your own appreciation, your own love of literature. And it really will be a fascinating and a really exciting part of the A-level course. Right, that is me nearly finished now, actually. And I just want to say thank you so much for your patience, definitely, and for taking the time to watch this presentation. I apologise for the lack of high-tech, whizzy special effects. My students know that I am not a very technical person, and my idea of technology is internet shopping, which I am quite good at. But when it comes to things like this, I do fall short. However, I really hope that you've been excited and enthused by this course, and it really would be fantastic if you could join us in September. It would be wonderful. I finally just want to say good luck. Good luck for your exams next summer, Year 11. It has been the most unusual, sometimes horrendous, sometimes quite life-affirming, actually, year. See how people have come together. And regardless of what happens over the next few months, continue to believe in yourself. Good luck with your exams. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fantastic. And as I said, I hope you decide to come back to Budehaven in September and join us for the next 2 years of your educational life, because it would be an absolute honour and a privilege to have you back in the classroom with us in September. I just want to leave you with this most wonderful quote, because for me, it encapsulates everything that I believe in when it comes to literature. Its power, its beauty, and it also shows what wonderful beings we And it also shows what wonderful beings we can be. And it shows how powerful and wonderful we are, because at the end of the day, human beings have created these wonderful things we call books. And without them, we wouldn't have our humanity. So thank you so much for listening, and goodbye. Thank you.